give you leverage and to grant you opportunity to be able to excel. The Christian life then was also affirmed to us that you've got to commit yourself to it. Verses like what you find in Peter, which says that make every effort to supplement your faith. The emphasis was there that you have got to get something done to supplement your faith. God has given you what he would give you. The resources are available. But you are living in a fallen world among fallen human beings. And the whole context around you rises against the standard God has given you. And it is up to you to learn to live the Christian life. As the time went on by the 1970s, the late 1970s, we begin to experience a different kind of Christianity in our part of the world. That begins to say that challenges in life are actually from the devil, and that they are not right. It also built upon a sociological construct that gives a parenting generation some understanding where they say that they don't want their children to suffer. Where they say that they don't want their children to suffer what they suffered. Beautiful as it sounds, it's a very dangerous philosophy of life. Because what gave them the capacity to be able to identify how to live right and the strength they had to fight through life came out of some of the things they suffered. An uneducated guess in deciding that you don't want your children to suffer what you suffered may bring you to the point where your children will grow with certain sets of weaknesses and lack of capacities. For example, you say that I don't want my child to suffer hunger because I suffered it. But you've forgotten that the same hunger you suffered also bequeathed to you a certain mindset and capacity. So that in trying to say my children should not be hungry, it doesn't mean that my children should be over-provided for. So if you don't take care, you go to the extreme and you steal from your children the capacity to withstand hunger and defer their desire for food, and so be very, very wise in how to handle food. What the sociological research is finding out is that children that follow parents with that philosophy grow up with less resilience. The same thing is happening in Christianity also. Those who have been discipled by the mindset that suffering is from the devil, hardship is bad and everything, they have become some kind of leaders that only history will judge them for what they have become. So when you become ministers, it is important for us to bear in mind that life as God created it and life as the fall has contributed to it brings us a package. On the one page are all the things you can become, and on the other page are all the things that can militate against you. Whether you keep your book open or closed, they interact. On to go on overcoming the sin that so easily besets, the concept is the agona in the agora. The agora is like the stadium, and the agona is that which you go through in there. The native word concept then is what the English word agony derives from. What the athlete goes through on the athletic field is agony, straining every nerve and pushing towards the goal. I'll therefore pick a few things to draw attention to. Ministerial challenges are many and diverse. I have tried to point to the fact that it will happen. Now I'm trying to draw attention to the fact that there are many. Ministerial challenges are many. But they are not just many of the same kind. They are many of diverse kinds. They are as diverse as we, the human beings, and the context in which we work and the tasks at which we labor are. They are diverse. They differ with age. Your age, when you come into ministry, may predispose you to certain categories of challenges. I became a minister when I was quite young, not too young in age, but I look very young. I went into ministry a few decades ago. I went into a congregation, and I have a catechist walk up to me and say that na wukura ubabe mi be di catechist na yenyanwo. The catechist you are going to work with, having this perception. Session members will say what they say. But I was ready for them, so I urged them on to say what they will say. Why will I urge them on? I want to know what they are made of. So I wasn't angry. I created opportunity for them to keep saying what they are made of. And each time they will let me see what they are made of. That aided what I did with them. That we'll talk about later. So the age at which you come, young, middle age, older, pair, the community you belong to is part of the factor. The number of years you have in service. Some of you here may have been in active Christian service in other categories before you come into this category. So you might have that opportunity already to be in some Christian service. Some of you might have been leaders in your congregations in various dimensions already. That also is a factor for you. And for some of us, you may be totally new to it. From church to school to university, from university to seminary, and you are going in. I hope that the first elders or session meeting you will chair will not be your very first attendance. That is trouble for you already. That is trouble for you. So the years of service you have prior to this phase also dictates the kind of challenges you will face. The nature of the congregation or society or assembly that you will be taken into also dictates the kind of challenges you will face. Are you going to a typical rural, or you are going to a peri-urban, or you are going to an inner city congregation, or you are going to a high-end economic and social ladder people? Are you going to the middle level? Are you going to a transit congregation? Are you going to an indigenous congregation, indigenous and rural, or indigenous and urban? What kind of congregation are you going into? The kind of congregation will also give you, what are you going to, a metropolitan, multicultural, middle-level people. All congregations have their classifications, and you get to know that each will present you with their own set of challenges. The other issue is the community in which the congregation is planted. You have to think of what it is. One very interesting of such congregations is when you take the how do you call it? There's a name they call it. The bypass that goes through Ajiringano to School Junction. Those here should know it. When you take that School Junction road, there's a place where they call Ability Square. When you get to that junction, the road, when you step off the road, you step into a mosque. Behind the mosque is a church. And they all serve there. If you are serving in that kind of community, it has its own challenges that would come to you. You are serving in a community, a war-torn community, a chieftaincy conflict-prone zone. You are serving in a community that is a community that lives below the poverty line, has its own troubles. You are serving in a high-end community that have become individualistic. It also has its challenges that would come to you. So challenges are going to be part of what we go through. Challenges are going to be part of what you go through. Now, don't think of sidestepping the challenges. A few years ago, I read something from a zoological journal that talked about an experiment that was done on butterflies. You know the stages of metamorphosis that the butterfly goes through. Now, one of the things they did was to set micro and nano cameras and mics to how the butterfly emerges. Now, when they magnified the sound and the pictures and the kind of sounds they heard, excruciating pain sound. So the zoologists decided that they were going to aid the process when the butterfly is emerging. So they were going to aid the process. So they timed it. And when the time was up, they, with surgical precision, they aided the process. So they cut open the things for the butterfly to emerge a little more easier without the pain and the struggle. Now, they noticed that there was a sharp difference between the butterfly that was aided and the one that emerged naturally. The first sign they saw was that the color patterns on the wings of the one that emerged naturally through the pain were very pronounced and precise, and their beauty reflected. And the color patterns on the butterfly that was aided were messed up, they were blurred, and they were not pronounced at all. The second thing they noticed was that right after emergence, the butterfly that was aided flew away. Easy. Then the one that was aided could not fly. So they set back to do some more research. And what they found, that which they considered as painful and excruciating was a process that aided the strengthening of the butterfly and its joints to be firm. It was a process that aided the secretion of appropriate combination and amounts of that which led to the beautiful color patterns. So I say to you, some pain is to your advantage. Some challenge is to your advantage. The mindset that calls you to diverse and jump off and defer them, you are going to have trouble. Your geography classes, if you've taken any of it, those of us who did middle school living certificate, we did some geography, and we learned that when rivers or waters emerge from their source and rivers are being formed, water tends to take the path of least resistance. So as it goes along, it gets to a hurdle, a little mountain or rock, it will turn around and veer off. It gets to a very hard place, it turns around and veer off. So by the time it gets to its source, let's say to the sea or whatever it is going, the river meanders. Now, what again that teaches us is that when you take the path of least resistance, by the time you arrive, you are crooked. You are not straight. You cannot be trusted. Apart from the fact that you have your own weaknesses that are inbuilt in you. Yes, some challenges can hit you hard. Some can even attempt to destroy you, right? But they are all meant to help you, and there are ways by which we can go into that. So let me pick a few things briefly, and then I move on to the other one. The fundamental challenge is the challenge of identity. What research confirms in ministers that are coming into Christian ministry, based on some research in Kenya, Uganda, and largely in the US, Ghana has not been able to do a lot. We've gathered some data. We've not been able to do the work itself yet. What it reveals is the first one is the challenge of identity. Who are you? Who are you? Now, who are you as in what kind of faith and spirituality do you espouse? Now, when I talk about faith and spirituality, I'm talking about your personal relationship with Christ. What kind of faith do you have? Your personal relationship with Christ. Do not think that I will presume that once you are in seminary, you have a good personal relationship with Christ. I have been teaching in seminary since 1995. I have seen enough to tell me that you may be coming from the sea, but you may not be edible fish. You could be a seahorse. So I emphasize to you again, because pastoral ministry, Christian ministry as a pastor, as a minister, can bring you to faith crisis. And if you do not have an identity clearly carved out for you to know exactly who you are in relationship to God, for that to build what you know, what you think, what you understand, how you relate to it, you will have challenges. What kind of Christian are you? That links up to your spirituality. Spirituality is not just a single thing. In fact, there are spiritualities. There is a difference between Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox spirituality and Catholic spirituality and Anglican spirituality. All these three are different. Reformed and so evangelical Christianity is different. Pentecostal spirituality is different. Charismatic spirituality is different. African institutionalized church spirituality is different. And what Africa is contributing to Christianity in the world is that we are not differentiated by theologies and denominations. So then, you can find a Catholic who is a Pentecostal, who espouses Pentecostal spirituality. In the same way, you can find a Methodist who is AIC. You can find a Presbyterian who has a kind of extreme independent charismatic spirituality in mind. It is important for you. I'm sure your classes might have taught you the characteristics of these spiritualities and how you can engage them. If you struggle to find it, Alistair McGrath's book on Christian spirituality has a chapter that can introduce you to that. And Don Saliers and the Encyclopedia of Christian Spirituality, I think the volumes 2 and 3, can give you some input in that. So it is important for you to have a clear understanding of that, because you would walk into a situation where you can have challenges that will call you to rethink who you are. Are you truly a Christian? Is your feet to the ground? Or you have lived in the skies for so long, your head is in the clouds, and you cannot face realities? That will be one of the challenges you will face. How do you resolve that? Get back to Christ. Get back to the Bible. Pin yourself to the ground. Don't just be following anybody you hear on social media with a following. Your age tends to run after people with a following. Growing up in the village, I do know that sometimes goats can get out on the run in the village and they also have following. Chicken can get out on the rampage in the village and they also have following. The other one is your denominational identity. You have seen Methodist, Presby, and you choose to be an Anglican. Or you are an Anglican by accident or by default. You have seen all the other denominations and you chose to be one. You owe it to yourself to be true to that identity. Do you know your church? Do you know the ethos of your church? The history of your church? The non-negotiables of your church and the peripheral issues? The conventions of your church? In faith, in practice, in engagement? That can come up to you because you will have challenges with it. How do you deal with it? If you haven't done enough of that yet, get your act together and get going. Denominational identity. And I say it this way. If you belong to one denomination and someday you find that you don't like it, you owe it to yourself either to leave or to learn it. But to stay there and cause trouble, you will be the one to have trouble. So it is important to settle down to know your denomination, because one of the things that will happen to you as a new minister is that you will face denominational identity crisis, and you must have enough in your bag to deal with it. The second thing is ministry gift and style identity. We live in a day that the historic mission churches, based upon their years of experience, have called their ministers together to be moderate. The independent charismatic movement has thrown at us a kind of mindset that causes you to be verbose with your gift and your style of ministry. Many in this generation are craving after the independent charismatic type of ministry. And you may be sent to a congregation or an assembly or a society or a parish. You may be sent to a place where the people there are particular about who they are and the style of ministry. And very soon you will find that you will have a ministry style conflict and challenge. It is important for you to know what it is. Important for you to know what it is. By the way, Why do you think that the older churches are careful and moderate with their giftings and ministry styles? Mark Twain once said, "When I was 17, I thought what a dummy my father was. When I turned 21, I was amazed at how much he has grown." Do you understand what I've just said? When I was 17, I thought what a dummy my father was. But when I turned 21, I was amazed at how much he has grown. Who actually did the growing? So it is important for you to know that there is a reason why. For example, when COVID hit our country, the world and our country together, the historic mission churches were careful to give guidelines, specifics as to how churches should go about it. The younger churches, in their flamboyant Pentecostal and charismatic styles, some of them, not even the, when they talk about historic mission churches, I'm sure you know that there are certain Pentecostal traditions that are also historic mission. But the new ones and the like, they made fun. People don't have faith. We can go, we'll do whatever we'll do and all of that. We all know what happened to them. What I know about my denomination is an interesting thing. All we did at the time was to get back into our archives and take the chronicles of 1916, 17, 18, and 19, when the Spanish flu hit Ghana, where people had to wear masks and people have to have a pass to move from the southern territories to the middle belt and the others, and read what was documented, what our forebears did about it, and to study. And we started giving guidelines from the head office to congregations what to do. Whilst there may be some joy in being young, and the young may have the energy, it is the elders who know the way. Conceptualization is the critical factor in all of this. So the things we're talking about, because of time, I'm trying to just push them together fast and we go. Conceptualization is the critical factor in it. So how do you conceptualize your identity? The capacity to conceptualize is also a fruit of reflection. If you haven't learned how to reflect, if I may ask, some of the major languages amongst here, how do you say reflect in Chi? Hello? Are you sure? What about Gan? Are you sure? Jesusumo, I see. Ever. Let me hear that again. That is the word in ever. The two others didn't mention the correct words. In Gan, it is yin shuemo. Okay, noni o shwetele machine. What about the tree? You don't know your own language. Okay, let's leave it at that. We are not in a linguistics class, so let's continue. So the capacity to introspect and engage matters at the analytical and evaluative level. Reflect. You are supposed, as a human being, to learn to do that. But more, as a minister, you should be able to introspect very deeply. And it is at the depth of introspection that we are able to build the capacity to conceptualize. Anybody here into management will know that Stanford University has given us the whole concept of design thinking. And in the design thinking cycle, you have the ideation part of it. Ideation results from reflection that will give you conceptualization. Now, as a minister, it is important for you to know how to ideate. But ideation will come after you have reflected and conceptualize. And so you grow an idea. And the matters of identity are a fruit of these things I'm talking about. When we reflect, we meditate on ideas, desires, etc., and we form opinions. And that is the point at which you are conceptualizing. The capacity to conceptualize then is also a fruit of experience. Are you used to doing so? So I'm saying that when you get into the identity crisis, one of the things that will help you is that you are able to sit with matters, reflect on them, think deep, form opinions, create ideas out of it to resolve the issue. It is important. It is important. Let me say one more thing about experience, and then we can move on to another challenge I would say. What we live in, what we live with, or what we live through becomes the norm we know, and eventually what we live for. So all these years, what you have lived in